The fall of Proxima Prime. Dr. Elena Reyes stood frozen at the viewport of the research vessel Horizon, her coffee mug suspended halfway to her lips as she watched the unthinkable unfold before her eyes. Proxima Prime, humanity's crown jewel colony with its 15 million inhabitants, was dying. "This can't be happening," she whispered, the words barely audible even to herself. The Horizon had been stationed in high orbit around Proxima Prime for the past 8 months as Elena and her team conducted ecological surveys. Their mission was simple: document the successful integration of Earth-based agriculture with the native flora of humanity's most prosperous extrasolar colony. Now that mission was irrelevant. The first sign of trouble had come just 40 minutes earlier. A wave of strange energy readings had appeared at the edge of the system, followed by the emergence of massive obsidian vessels, hundreds of them, arranged in a perfect geometric formation that no human fleet could achieve. The vessels bore no recognizable markings, no signals of identification or intent. They had simply appeared and advanced toward Proxima Prime with terrifying purpose. Elena had immediately recognized them from classified briefings. The Veskans, a highly advanced species encountered by an exploratory mission 3 years prior. That initial contact had been brief, but seemingly peaceful before the aliens departed without explanation. "Captain, we need to warn the colony," Elena had urged, rushing to the bridge. Captain Takeda had already opened communications channels, but received no response. "They're jamming all frequencies," he reported grimly. "I've already initiated emergency protocols." On the view screens, the Veskan fleet encircled Proxima Prime like predators surrounding wounded prey. There was a moment of terrible stillness. Then beams of sickly green light lanced down from every ship simultaneously. The effects were immediate and catastrophic. The planet's crust began to bulge and crack. Oceans lifted into space in defiance of gravity. The atmosphere ignited, turning the once blue-green jewel into a burning hellscape. "Record everything," Elena ordered, her scientific mind taking over even as her heart screamed in denial. "Maximum resolution on all sensors." For 23 minutes, they watched in helpless horror as the Veskans methodically destroyed Proxima Prime. The colony's defensive systems, designed to withstand meteors and solar flares, might as well have been paper shields against the aliens' gravity-manipulating weapons. When the destruction was complete, smaller Veskan vessels deployed from the larger ships. They descended to the ruined surface and began harvesting something from the devastated planet. "Are they mining?" Lieutenant Santos asked in disbelief. "They destroyed a planet of 15 million people for resources," Captain Takeda said, his voice hollow with shock. Elena could only stare, numb with horror. Her younger brother Marco had moved to Proxima Prime just last year with his wife and twin daughters. Her nieces had just celebrated their 5th birthday. Now they were gone, along with millions of others. 6 hours later, the Veskan fleet departed as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving behind the broken husk of a world that would never support life again. "Set course for Earth," Captain Takeda ordered. "Maximum speed. Priority channel. Dr. Reyes, prepare all your data for immediate transmission. Earth needs to know what happened here." During the 3-week journey back to Earth, Elena barely slept. She spent every waking hour analyzing the sensor data, searching for any information that might explain the Veskans' actions or reveal potential weaknesses. Her scientific detachment was her only shield against overwhelming grief. The news of Proxima Prime's destruction reached Earth days before the Horizon docked at the Luna Gateway Station. By the time Elena stepped onto the station, humanity was already in the first stages of collective shock and mourning. She was immediately transported to Earth, to the headquarters of the United Earth Defense Force in Geneva. The massive underground complex hummed with grim activity as military personnel rushed through corridors and screens displayed ships being recalled from the outer colonies. In the main briefing room, Admiral Marcus Chen awaited her. At 65, Chen was considered Earth's greatest military strategist, having led the forces that united humanity under a single government during the Resource Wars 2 decades earlier. His weathered face showed the strain of recent days, but his eyes burned with focused intensity. "Dr. Reyes," he acknowledged with a nod, "your data has been invaluable. Please tell us what you witnessed." For the next hour, Elena described the destruction of Proxima Prime in clinical detail, forcing emotion from her voice as she presented the recordings and sensor data the Horizon had captured. When she finished, the room fell into a heavy silence. Admiral Chen rose slowly from his seat, activating a display behind him. It showed a family photo: a man, a woman, and 3 children standing before a backdrop of Proxima Prime's distinctive purple-leaved forests. "My daughter moved to Proxima Prime 7 years ago," he said quietly. "She was the colony's agricultural director. These are my grandchildren." His voice remained steady, but his hands betrayed him, trembling slightly before he clasped them behind his back. "I received confirmation yesterday that their city was directly beneath the first Vescan weapon strike." He turned to face the assembly of military commanders and government officials. This was not a military target. Proxima Prime had no strategic value, no significant defenses. This was extermination for resources. The intelligence chief stood. "Based on Dr. Reyes' data and our previous encounters, we believe the Vescans are systematic resource harvesters. Their technology is approximately 3 centuries ahead of ours. Their ships move using some form of dimensional folding we don't understand, and their weapons manipulate gravity itself." Elena listened as officials debated options. Most believed Earth's forces were too small and technologically inferior to mount an effective defense, let alone retaliation. Admiral Chen silenced them with a raised hand. 15 million people are dead. This was not a misunderstanding or an accident. This was deliberate genocide. He activated a new display showing Earth's military assets, a modest fleet of 1,300 warships spread across human-controlled space. "This is not enough," he stated flatly. "So we will build more." Chen entered a command, and the screens changed to show industrial facilities across Earth and its remaining colonies. "I am invoking the Phoenix Protocol." A murmur swept through the room. The Phoenix Protocol had been established after the Resource Wars but never implemented, a last resort measure for existential threats. "As of this moment," Chen continued, "all manufacturing capacity in human space is redirected to military production. All shipyards will operate at maximum capacity. All defensive research becomes priority 1. The defense minister leaned forward. "Admiral, that protocol will fundamentally alter our society, our economy." "Our society has already been altered," Chen interrupted. "We are at war, whether we choose to be or not." He looked at Elena. "Dr. Reyes, I want you to head a new research division focused exclusively on the Vescans. Find me their weaknesses." Elena nodded, thinking of her brother's family. "Yes, Admiral." Chen turned back to the assembly, his voice hardening. "The Vescans believe they can destroy us without consequence. They think us weak, primitive, easy prey." He stepped forward, and the room grew utterly still. "They have awakened something they do not understand. Humanity will not fall. We will not cower." His eyes swept the room, meeting each gaze in turn. "We will build an armada like nothing this galaxy has ever seen. I promise this. For Proxima Prime, for our 15 million dead. We will answer with 700,000 warships. And the Vescans will learn what happens when humanity is pushed too far." As Elena left the briefing room, she felt something crystallize within her, a cold, clear purpose rising from the ashes of grief. The Phoenix Protocol had begun, and with it, humanity's transformation from prey to predator. The risen Phoenix, the orbital shipyards of Mars, glowed like a constellation against the night sky. 6 months ago, these massive facilities had produced commercial vessels, science ships, and the occasional military patrol craft. Now they built only warships. Commander Sato wiped sweat from his brow as he inspected the freshly fabricated hull section of the dreadnought Vengeance. At 57, he had retired from shipbuilding 3 years earlier. Then the Phoenix Protocol was activated, and his peaceful retirement ended with a simple message. Your skills are needed. Report to Mars Shipyard Alpha. How does it look? Asked Kai, a young engineer who had been a university student just 4 months ago. Adequate, Sato replied, but adequate isn't enough anymore. He pointed to a nearly invisible seam in the quantum alloy plating. If this fails during combat, 3,000 crew members die. Fix it. Kai nodded and rushed away. Sato didn't mean to be harsh, but there was no time for gentle teaching. The shipyards worked around the clock, and everyone knew why. Below them, the massive frame of the Vengeance took shape. It would be the 40th dreadnought completed this month. Impressive, but not enough. Not nearly enough. Similar scenes played out across human space. On Earth, factories that once produced luxury goods now manufactured armor plating and weapon components. Mining operations on Mercury extracted metals at rates that would have been considered dangerously unsustainable in peacetime. The gas giants, Jupiter and Saturn, had become fueling stations, their atmospheres siphoned to power the growing fleet. 200 worlds, from major colonies to tiny outposts, had transformed into a single war machine. Schools became training centers. Farms operated with skeletal crews as automation took over food production. Every aspect of human civilization now served one purpose: survival. At the heart of this transformation stood Admiral Chen. From his command center beneath Geneva, he coordinated the greatest mobilization in human history. Today, he was reviewing the latest production numbers when his aide announced an unexpected visitor. Sir, Dr. Reyes is here. She says it's urgent. Chen looked up from his screens. He hadn't seen Elena Reyes in person since assigning her to head the Vescan Research Division 4 months ago. Her gaunt appearance shocked him. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and she had lost weight her frame could ill afford to lose. When did you last sleep, Doctor? That's not important, Elena said, placing a data chip on his desk. We found something. Something that changes everything. Chen inserted the chip, and a holographic display appeared between them. It showed a spectral analysis of Vescan technology, alongside what appeared to be molecular diagrams. We've identified their weakness, Elena explained, her fatigue momentarily eclipsed by excitement. The Vescan's dimensional folding technology and gravity weapons rely on a specific quantum resonance frequency. More importantly, we've discovered why they targeted Proxima Prime. She touched the display, and it shifted to show planetary composition data. Every planet they've attacked had abnormally high concentrations of certain rare elements they harvest after destruction. These elements have unique properties at the quantum level that power their advanced technology. Chen studied the data. You're telling me 15 million people died because aliens needed fuel. Resources, yes, Elena confirmed, but it's also their vulnerability. Their shielding technology operates on a precise frequency band to protect their ships from the quantum backwash of their own weapons. We can exploit that. She manipulated the display again, showing a prototype weapon design. We call it the quantum disruptor. It targets the exact frequency their shields operate on, causing a cascading failure that ripples through their systems. In theory, a single hit could disable an entire Vescan dreadnought. For the first time in months, Chen felt something beyond grim determination. Hope. How soon can we produce these weapons? The prototype will be ready for testing in 3 weeks. If it works, we can begin mass production immediately afterward. Every ship in the fleet can be retrofitted within 6 months. Chen nodded. Make it happen. Whatever resources you need are yours. As Elena left, Chen activated his communication panel. Status report on the fleet. His operations chief appeared on screen. We've completed 17,000 warships since mobilization began. Another 25,000 will be ready within 2 months. At current acceleration rates, we'll reach 150,000 by year's end. Not enough. Chen said. I want 250,000 by then. Admiral, with respect, we're already pushing our infrastructure beyond safe limits. Then push harder, Chen replied, his voice calm but unyielding. Expand the orbital facilities around Venus. Convert the Titan mining stations to additional shipyards. Use the asteroid belt for raw materials. He looked directly into the camera. I promised 700,000 ships. I intend to deliver them. 3 months later, Elena stood in an observation room at the Jupiter testing range, watching as the prototype quantum disruptor targeted a captured Vescan scout ship. The small alien vessel had been discovered drifting at the edge of the Sol system, apparently conducting surveillance. Firing sequence initiated, announced the weapons officer. A beam of shimmering blue-white energy lanced out from the test platform, striking the Vescan ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then ripples of energy cascaded across the alien vessel's surface. Its obsidian hull began to glow with an internal light that rapidly intensified until, with a silent flash, the ship simply disintegrated. Elena exhaled slowly. It works. Admiral Chen, who had come to witness the test personally, turned to her. Begin mass production immediately. Every ship gets one. 1 year after the destruction of Proxima Prime, humanity's transformed fleet gathered in the space between Jupiter and Saturn. 700,000 warships, from agile fighters to massive dreadnoughts, formed the largest armada ever assembled by any species in known space. On the bridge of the flagship Phoenix, Admiral Chen addressed the commanders of the fleet. The Vescans believed they could exterminate us without consequence. Today, we proved them wrong. The fleet moved as one, utilizing the dimensional jump technology reverse-engineered from Vescan designs. Following the quantum trail left by the alien harvesters, they emerged near the Vescan homeworld, a massive gas giant surrounded by artificial habitats and mining platforms. The Vescan defense fleet reacted immediately, moving to intercept. Their ships were larger, more advanced, but they were outnumbered 100 to 1. They've never faced resistance on this scale, Elena observed from her station on the Phoenix. Their tactics suggest they're used to overwhelming technologically inferior opponents. Chen nodded. Deploy the first wave. Targeted strikes on their command vessels. The battle that followed was brief but devastating. The quantum disruptors tore through Vescan defenses with terrifying efficiency. Ships that had once decimated entire worlds fell before humanity's vengeance. When the Vescan fleet lay in ruins, Chen opened a communication channel to the alien habitats. I am Admiral Marcus Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Your fleet has been destroyed. Your worlds lie defenseless before us. He paused, allowing the translation to reach Vescan leaders. We could do to you what you did to Proxima Prime. We have that power now. He gestured to a display showing the quantum disruptors locked on every major Vescan habitat. But we are not you. We do not exterminate species for resources. Instead, we offer terms. The terms were simple: complete and immediate cessation of all harvesting operations on inhabited worlds, return of all resources taken from Proxima Prime, reparations to be paid to human colonies, technology sharing under human supervision, regular inspections to ensure compliance. You have 1 hour to respond, Chen concluded. Choose wisely. The Vescans, facing extinction, surrendered unconditionally. 1 month later, Elena stood beside Admiral Chen on the observation deck of the Phoenix, watching as construction began on a memorial station at the site where Proxima Prime had once orbited. The station would serve dual purposes: a monument to the 15 million lost, and a forward military base to ensure the Vescans kept their word. Was it worth it? Elena asked quietly. All the resources, the complete transformation of our society. Chen considered the question. We did what was necessary. The Vescans underestimated us. They saw a technologically inferior species and calculated that we would be easy prey. He turned to look at the vast human fleet still assembled nearby. They didn't understand what humanity does when threatened. We don't just fight back. We ensure it can never happen again." Elena nodded, thinking of her brother and his family. "What happens now? Do we maintain this military posture?" "The Phoenix Protocol remains active, but with modifications," Chen replied. "Half the fleet will stay deployed. The rest will be held in reserve. Meanwhile, we'll continue expanding into space, but more cautiously, more prepared." He gestured toward the stars beyond their viewport. "There are other species out there, some likely more advanced than the Veskans. They'll have heard what happened here. You think they'll come for us?" Chen shook his head. "I think they'll think twice before trying. The galaxy now knows what happens when humanity is pushed too far. We respond with 700,000 warships, and the will to use them." As Elena gazed out at the stars, she felt a complex mixture of grief, pride, and determination. Humanity had been changed forever by the fall of Proxima Prime, transformed from an optimistic spacefaring civilization into a galactic military power. It wasn't the future they had envisioned, but it was the future they had forged from necessity, and it ensured they would have a future at all.